So last but not least, in the chapter regarding blood, I want to talk about platelets. All right. Now, a normal platelet count in the blood will be about 130,000 to 400,000 platelets per microliter. Okay. Now, platelets, in a sense, are not cells; they're cell fragments. Okay. And basically, these little cellular fragments are used. Your book kind of describes a couple different functions of them. The one big one I want to focus on, and I want you guys to study the most, is clot formation. Platelets are sticky little structures you'll find in the blood. They're part of your four elements. That you find that once you start, they kind of circulate in small clumps, and then when you need to form an actual clot, for example, when you cut the vessel and you're leaking blood out, those sticky platelets need to start to come together to plug the hole in a vessel. Okay, that's the major role of platelets I want you guys to focus on is clot formation. Okay, now platelets come from cells called megakaryocytes. We call them megakaryocytes because they are much larger than the average white blood cell. These are about 100 micrometers in diameter. They're huge. Okay, they're about 100 micrometers in diameter. All right. Again, just to kind of for a frame of reference, like I said, think of the average cell as being about, give or take, 12 to 20 micrometers in diameter. So these are much larger. Okay. Now these are made, just like any other type of white blood cell in red bone marrow, the hemopoietic tissue, and they come from stem cells, hemocytoblasts, and again, these are turned, these stem cells are turned on when they come in contact with specific types of chemical messages that stimulate them to convert into megakaryocytes. Now, megakaryocytes, remain within the, they kind of stick around within the bone marrow. They don't typically exit the bone marrow. Now, what they do is they create these little invaginations or these little inward folds of their cytoplasm, and then these little folds kind of chip off, and then what happens, these little chipped off parts of the cytoplasm, those are the platelets, and then they kind of start to clump together a little bit, and then they circulate throughout the bloodstream. Okay. Now platelets, give or take, are not that large. These little parts of the cytoplasm here, give or take, maybe 4 micrometers in diameter. They're quite small. They're not that big. Okay, so it does require a decent amount of platelets to actually form a clot. All right. So that's kind of where these come from. Now, again, when kind of coming back to the numbers here real quick, if we stick with the function that we just mentioned, forming a clot, all right, if a person, does a blood count and we find that their platelet levels are very